Okay, so welcome everyone to Psalms for Life. And in this class, we discuss each of the Psalms in depth, very often from a psycho-spiritual perspective, but also from a historical, and right now from this perspective of the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. So first, I want to thank Esther Elagorovich for sponsoring this class. It should be a huge merit for her and her family, for safety, for good health, for success and happiness, and for closeness to Torah and the truth, Tzaddikim, and the Jewish people. And we thank her so much for sponsoring this class. And it's really, we're already on, I think this is Psalm 36, but it's about our 39th class. So we're getting there little by little. Okay, so today is the 18th day of this war. And it is the 9th of Cheshvan. And we are all hoping that very soon we will be celebrating the arrival of Mashiach. And we are looking forward to relief from this terrible enemy. And we are finding in Sefer Tehillim, in the book of Psalms, discussions, poetry, prayers, all combined, referring to not only our inner development, which is a stress in this particular class, but also our development in terms of how we see and how we relate to the world. Now, the different commentators have different things to say about this psalm. First of all, this psalm is a segula for protection against our enemies. Okay, that's number one. Going to keep that in mind as we go through the psalm. But there are three different views. There are more than three different views, but there are three general views of this psalm. One is a midrash, which says that this psalm is a psalm about David's battle with and defeat of Goliath. Okay, this huge external enemy. And we'll talk about that as we go forward. And Goliath, of course, can be compared to the enemies we face today: vicious, murderous, barbaric. Okay, number one. Number two, it's Forno who has the view that this psalm is a psalm about Achitophel. And Achitophel, which I want you to keep in mind, Achitophel is a story we haven't gone too much into, and we will in the future, hopefully, God willing. But Achitophel was a brilliant, genius Torah scholar and advisor to King David. And some say he was related to Bathsheba. There are different opinions. And Achitophel, for whatever reason, he decided he wanted to cause a breakup and enmity between David and his son Avshalom. Okay. And he began building up Avshalom to his face and putting King David down subtly, and it developed over time until he caused an outright rebellion of Avshalom against his father, King David. And when Achitophel realized that he wasn't going to succeed in his bitter and jealous drive for more power for himself, because Avshalom would need him to be an even more important part of his life than King David did, he committed suicide. Okay, very unusual. We don't hear so much about that in the Torah or in Tanakh. We don't hear about it in the Torah at all, I don't think. So that's another opinion of this psalm. And finally, the third opinion that we can focus on today is this idea that this is, I think it's Radak. I didn't write it down. I don't remember, but I think so. This idea that this psalm is really about the battle with the yetzer hara. And we can read this psalm on every level at all times. And when I was really thinking about this psalm and davening about it, talking about it with Hashem, this idea really came to me that these three enemies represent our greatest enemies today. We have an external enemy, a Goliath, okay, who Israel and, of course, the Jewish people were at war with. All right. And Goliath, okay, is barbaric. He's huge. He's a monster. He looks like he can't be defeated. Okay. However, of course, he is defeated. We'll talk about that. Then we have then we have the enemy that we've talked about throughout our classes. I'm skipping Achitophel for now. We have the inner enemy, the battle with our yetzer hara. These battles are not separate, okay? They do occur simultaneously. So we also have to understand that the battle with the yetzer hara, the spiritual battle, the inner battle, the psychological battle, okay, because that's what it is. It's a psychological and spiritual battle together. That battle, we are also, each of us is going through. Ruti just said something amazing before I turned on the recording. Ruti was described, Ruti's in Yerushalayim, she's in Jerusalem, she's describing the ups and downs that she's going through when she feels down, okay, like anybody would in this situation. When she feels down, she looks for things that are going to pick her up. She's always looking for prayers or connections with people or something. She goes to a lot of classes and so on. So that's how you fight the yetzer hara, by the way. That's a very good example. And then we have, I'm coming back to the middle one, Achitophel. Achitophel represents one of the Jewish people's biggest struggles, in some ways our biggest struggle, and that is enmity and infighting, okay? This is really often takes the form of lashon hara. That's really what it takes. Jews don't usually punch each other out, okay? But it takes the form of trying to weaken people's attachment to other Jews, jealousy, trying to make oneself more important, trying to ruin another person's reputation. It can be very subtle, as Achitophel was at first, because he was very intelligent. He knew how to do this. So this is an enemy we also all have to watch out for, because right now, factionalism in the Jewish world is a huge threat to both internal and external peace. We know when we're united, we're united as a people, the enemy can't conquer us. Okay, but we know when we have factionalism and infighting, God forbid, okay, factionalism and infighting, God forbid, we understand that the enemy sees us as weak. Okay, all right. So anyway, let's begin. Okay, we're going to start with the first verse. Lam natseach le'ebed Adonai leDavid. Okay, here David describes himself in two ways. He describes himself first, okay, as an eved, a servant of Hashem, and then as a mensch, as a person, okay? Just David, that's it. I'm a servant of Hashem, and then I'm David, not King David, just David, okay? And he's showing us here, this is Rav Hirsch points this out, he's showing us here that this is how we should see ourselves. So first, we serve Hashem, and next we're a person, okay? And all the other stuff, I'm a great king, I'm the great this, he doesn't mention it. That's to keep in mind. He's giving us a little musar. Now, Al-Sheikh says that the yetzer hara is far greater in a tzaddik than it is in an average person like you and me. Okay, we know that the greater the powers of good, the greater there has to be an opposite force of equal greatness in order to have that constant struggle. Okay. And that's really what we're all doing. We're all battling on various levels. Okay. And so he said, the commentator says that it isn't boastful of him to speak about this because he puts himself first as a servant of Hashem. He's going to tell us he did overcome his yetzer hara, but he's saying primarily why? Because of my connection to Hashem. And this is something that Rebbe Nachman encourages us again and again and again. I spoke about it last week, and I will continue to speak about it. And that is this idea that if we want to do good in this world, okay, we should do so with humility and understand that whatever we do is in the service of Hashem. Okay, next. Okay. Oh, and also he says something else very beautiful. Al-Sheikh, he says that because the Psalms are composed with Ruach HaKodesh, with a certain type of prophecy, they therefore are an expression of Hashem's thoughts anyway. So this is David not even taking credit for the Psalm itself. Okay. Next. Ne'um pesha l'rasha b'kerev libi. Ein pachad Elohim leneged einav. So the words of transgression to the wicked are in my heart. Okay, I'll explain that. And there is no fear of God before his eyes. So what's going on here is that David is saying that the evil, the no good, the negative in the form of pesha, which is transgression, okay, can speak to the heart, tries to control the heart. And it tries to tell the heart not to have fear of Hashem. That's on the personal level. On the external level, we see this. I don't want to talk politics. I'm embarrassed to even admit that I watched this video, but I had to. I was compelled somehow. But this interview, and actually they just showed the blurred thing, but they spoke about it. I didn't actually hear the video itself, but I heard them speaking about it, how this Hamas fighter was captured, and he said it's himself. He was instructed to do whatever they want. What does that mean in this raid? And then he said, we were like wild animals. Okay. So whatever we want is that negative pull of the heart. Now, of course, there are different levels of this, okay? But each person, each human being, not just each Jew, each human being has a level that he has to conquer, a level of pesha, of transgression in his heart. Very briefly, it's good to get these words defined because we're going to see them again and again. You might want to jot this down. Sometimes I don't remember either. The general word for transgression or a sin is an avera. A pesha is something generally said to be purposefully rebellious. Okay, they translate it as transgression, but it's done specifically to rebel against Hashem. And avon is considered to be a sin of pleasure, giving into desire, but it's not purposefully to rebel. And a chet is a sin that wasn't done with any intention to rebel. It's deviating, whether on purpose or by accident. It's kind of, in some ways, the least of these. Okay, now, let's talk about Goliath briefly, since the psalm definitely refers to him. Okay. So the Talmud tells us that he was called Goliath, because he was begilui panim. It's like brazen-faced, bold-faced. He had a lot of chutzpah before Hashem. And when David encountered him, he was frightening. He really was frightening. He had every type of weapon. He was huge. He was vicious. But how did David stand up to him? This is how. When he heard Goliath, when he heard him blaspheming God, David said, I know I can beat him. Not a problem. Why? Because he had no fear of Hashem, Goliath, and no dread of Hashem before his eyes, as the verse says. The verse is referring to this. He would also, this is an amazing thing, and I'm very sorry that I didn't prepare the video for you, but this blaspheming against God, that Goliath did, which gave David the courage to stand up to him because he didn't have fear of God, he would also use his mouth to taunt Israel, to taunt the Jews. He would use nivelpe, bad language, vulgar language. He would curse them and taunt them outside the camp of Israel every morning and evening. Why? Why morning and evening? To prevent the Jews from saying the Shema, which of course is when we declare our loyalty to Hashem. Not only did he not have loyalty to Hashem, but he didn't want us to have it. Didn't want the Jews to have it. Okay. Now, he did this for 40 days, which is said to be, Goliath did this, mocking the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was on Mount Sinai. Now, Gitta Kramer sent me a video of the Jews in Beitar. In the evening, the Yishmaelim are shouting right now during this war. They're shouting every evening, Allahu, whatever, their threat, God is great and he wants me to murder, which of course doesn't make any sense. And they're shouting it to terrify the Jews of Beitar. And in Beitar, the Jews are shouting Shema Yisrael. Okay, they're saying the Shema back in full voice every time they do this. Quite incredible. If you text me or WhatsApp me, I'll try to find the video for you. So when I saw that video, I immediately linked it to this psalm, which I was reviewing. That's what they're doing. Okay, next. Ki hechelik elav be'enav limtso avono lisno. Okay. It smoothed the way before him, okay, that he should find avono. Remember that word avon, iniquity or sin to hate. Okay, what does this mean? It means that there's an enemy, whether it's inside ourselves or outside of ourselves, that says lies, smooth, slick lies, and it causes people to do evil. Okay. Again, that can be an internal enemy. It can be sadly an internal enemy with it. And I don't want to say enemy, but the cause of internal enmity between the Jewish people, making a very smooth, subtle comment about another Jew, God forbid, or another group of Jews, God forbid. And also it can be like the Goliath we are facing today, who lies, who is releasing hostages and shaking their hands. Okay, that's a form of a lie. A gesture can be a lie as well, can be deceitful as well. So we see this playing out on every level today. Okay, all right, next. Divrei piv aven umerima, hadal lahaskil lehetiv. The words of his of his mouth are evil and deceit. He has ceased thinking about doing good. A person can talk himself into anything. Each one of us, we're capable of it, okay? People not only lie to others, they lie to themselves, okay? That's part of our battle, is sometimes we don't tell ourselves the hard truth that we all need to face. We're human. We need to face up to things. Let's talk about lying to others, because this is what we see going on in the news. We see it going on with the administrations. Out in Chutz La'aretz, I have no knowledge of Israel. We see it going on all over the place. I looked this up. Studies about lies show that people lie a lot. Some studies show that people tell at least 11 lies a week on average. Some studies show that 60% of people, this is the University of Massachusetts, I don't know how accurate it is, but 60% of people lie every 10 waking minutes. Can you imagine? Okay. Why do people lie? For all kinds of reasons. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to get through the psalm, but basically, I'll paraphrase Rebbe Nachman. Lying can stunt your personal growth. It's interesting. You would think that someone who lies would be able to more easily spot a lie in someone else because they know what a lie looks, smells, and feels like. That's not true. The sages say that a person who is a truth teller, who's committed always 100% to truth, has a far easier ability to spot a lie in someone else. All right, it's very interesting. Okay. Let's see. Aven yachshov al mishkavo, yisyatsev al derech lo tov ra lo yimas. Evil he devises on his bed. He lies on his bed and thinks up plots, and he puts himself, he places himself, he stations himself on a path of no good, and he doesn't look down on evil. Okay, our enemy, we know that. Ibn Ezra says that at night he schemes on his bed, he rises in the morning to execute his evil plans. Okay. Adonai b'hashamayim chastecha, emunasecha ad shechakim. Hashem, to the heavens, David speaking to Hashem, your kindness has gone and your faithfulness to the upper heights. Now, David makes that shift, which we often see, and he begins to speak about Hashem's greatness and his wisdom and his justice and his kindness. He's wrapping it up in the words of kindness and faithfulness. And Hashem gives sustenance to his creation every day, which is why we say Moda'ani every morning. We thank Hashem for his faithfulness in returning our soul. We can count on him to constantly sustain us. Most of us, most of the time, if not all the time, have food, we have shelter, and so on. That comes from Hashem. If people don't have it, the people who do have it are supposed to this is real redistribution of wealth. That's really what it is. We're supposed to redistribute to those who don't have. And this is how we honor Hashem's faithfulness to us. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I wanted to speak about the Tanya briefly about Hashem sustaining us. The Tanya, the Tanya, which is the by the Baal HaTanya, the original first Rebbe of Chabad, states that if Hashem wasn't paying attention to the world at every moment, it would completely revert to nothingness. Hashem's faithfulness takes the form of his thoughts, so to speak. He's sending his thoughts to create the world in every moment, including each of us. Okay. So it's very interesting because this relates to what Rebbe Nachman says, and that is we can always start over. People, we take this quote, we all take it, it's a good quote. You can start over, you can begin again, because it gives us hope. But it's not just sweet words, and it's not just hopeful words. There is a spiritual physics behind this, which is that if Hashem is recreating the world over and over again, so to speak, because recreating isn't quite the right word, I don't know what it is, in every moment, then in every moment, there's always a potential for what? To start over. In every moment. Each of us, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, we can always, always genuinely start over. Okay. That's tshuva, by the way. Okay, let's continue. Hold on, I'm gonna let's see, I'll just read the verse. Sorry. Tzivkascha keharare el, mishpatecha tehom rabba, Adam uvhema toshia Adonai. Okay. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountains. Your judgments are like the vast deep waters. Man and beast, you save Hashem. I'm going to continue. Ma yakar chasdecha Elohim uvnei Adam b'tzel kinafecha yeches sayum. Okay, how precious, how dear and sweet, precious is your kindness to us, Hashem, and the sons of man take refuge in the shadow of your wings. So beautiful. So who are these Bnei Adam, these sons of man? These, say the Radak, are those who don't act like beasts in the form of a man. A human being is one who knows that he's obligated to rise above his yetzer hara and to vanquish it, and then Hashem will shelter him. Now, Radak's not saying or implying, and none of the commentators on this, that we have to be perfect and that we can always perfectly conquer our yetzer hara. Of course not. But we fall into the category of the Bnei Adam, the son of man, if we know that we have an obligation to do it and we try to do it, we do our best. When that video, or that news video that I saw, it stuck in my mind, this interview with this terrorist represents the exact opposite. He's given permission by their leader. Their leader is basically the Sitra Achra, the Satan. He's given permission. He's told, not given permission, he's given a job. What? To completely give in to the worst of his yetzer hara. That's our external enemy. That's what we're fighting. And we are protected. We can't forget it. Whether you're in Yerushalayim, whether you're in Tel Aviv, whether you're in Toronto, whether you're in New York, wherever you are, you can't forget that you belong to this category of sons of man. And Hashem is sheltering you with his wings. Okay. All right, let's continue. Yirvuyun mideshen beisecha v'nachal adan necha sashkem. They will be sated from the rich abundance of your house and from the stream of your delights you give them to eat. These are the sons of man, including especially the tzaddikim. Hashem takes care of them. We tap into this power by cultivating, nurturing within ourselves the three qualities of a Jew. Okay, the Jews are Rahmanim, Baishanim, and Gomle Chasadim. We are merciful to others. We are humble and bashful. We don't push forward. We're not loud mouths. We're not arrogant. And we are Gomle Chasadim. We do acts of kindness. And we see this. We see this in what we're doing to Israel right now. We have the compassion that motivates us, the mercy that motivates us to help. We have this quality of humility, which we see as this urge to pitch in wherever we're needed. We don't have to be on top. We just jump in. And we have this quality of doing, giving money, giving time, giving resources, volunteering, and so on. Okay. Ki imcha mekor chayim be'orcha nira or. Okay. For with you is the source of life. By your light, we shall see light. This verse is beautiful. It's a praise of Hashem. Hashem is the source of life, the creator of our souls, the creator of our bodies, the creator of all life. And this light, what is this light? This light is Torah. That's really light. That's the light that we see light with. And that's the light that we're looking at. Okay. And this light is all authentic Jewish wisdom, especially the teachings of the true tzaddikim, okay, who are put on this earth and cultivate their righteousness in order to open our eyes to the beauty and light of Torah and connecting to Hashem. Okay. When we do this, when we fall into that category of Bnei Adam, we fight our yetzer hara, when we do all the good we can do, when we look to Torah for inspiration and our guidance, we are bathed in this light. We see it up close, okay? We see it. You know how some people just have this radiance? You see some people, you just know that they're tzaddikim. You just know it. They have that radiance. That is the light also. It actually expresses as a type of radiance and light, okay? Let me see where I am. Mishol chasdecha liyadecha v'tzikasecha liyishrei lev. Bring me not to the, extend your kindness to those who know you, and your charity to the upright of heart. Okay, that's a prayer to Hashem. Al tivoeni regel gava v'yad rishayim al tinideni. Okay, let not the foot of arrogance come upon me, okay, and let the hand of the wicked not move me, not shake me from my place. So arrogance is compared to a foot that holds up a person, okay? Rebbe Nachman teaches that, you know, a foot isn't so stable, 1 foot. That's the foot of arrogance. It can kick it down easily. Rebbe Nachman teaches that the way to break arrogance is with our feet, interestingly enough. And he has this verse in mind, this idea of dancing for joy, clapping your hands in joy, moving, dancing at a simcha, at a wedding, even putting on music at dancing at home. Dancing breaks arrogance, especially and only really when you're dancing for Hashem, okay? Or to bring joy to other people, which of course is dancing for Hashem, okay? And it brings humility. Dancing is very interesting. You know, if you like ballet, okay, you've seen ballet, it's true that in ballet, maybe there are some, you know, ballerinas that are, ballet dancers that are maybe arrogant, but they're not dancing for Hashem. It may be beautiful, but they're not dancing for Hashem. And I'm not knocking ballet, just what popped into my head. Dancing for Hashem is, you can dance ballet for Hashem. You can, it's possible. As a matter of fact, there are female dance troupes. There are men dance troupes too, but there are female dance troupes that are Torah-based. It's very beautiful and sweet. Okay. Just like last week, there was an allusion, a hint to this idea of the etrog and the 4 species of Sukkot. This time, we see this hint here in this verse. The Roshei Tevos, the first letters of the words, Al tivoeni regel gaiva, they spell what? Etrog. This is very interesting. The etrog represents the heart, and the heart of a Jew can't have a foot of arrogance. Got to get rid of that foot. Knock that foot out and put on your dancing shoes and leap for joy and let that joy come from your heart. We have a little custom, my husband and I, we try to do it every Motzi Shabbos. We don't always succeed every Motzi Shabbos, but for the Malava Malka meal, the 4th meal of Shabbos, where we are escorting the Shabbos queen out, which is after Havdalah, we put on music. We have a couple of tracks that we like, a couple of albums that we like. I don't think album is a word anymore. I don't know. And we put it on and we dance. And we usher in the week with joy. And I wouldn't say we're great dancers. Luckily, nobody's watching, just us. But it really breaks down that stress of transitioning from the peace of Shabbat to the stress of the week. Okay. Also, I want to say something. Before the Baal Shem Tov left this world, right before he died, he prayed and people heard him. He prayed this verse and he said it like this: don't let the foot of arrogance overtake me. And then he gave a short drush, a short vort, a talk on the importance of being humble. That was the Baal Shem Tov's last thoughts, was the importance of being humble. Okay, we're going to continue. Sham naflu poale aven, dochu velo yachlu kum. There they fell, those practitioners of evil. They were pushed down, were thrust down, and they weren't able to get up to come. In other words, this prayer is giving us battles on many levels, but it's ending with our victory. But the verse before that is all about cultivating humility, dancing, getting rid of arrogance. And there are so many ways. I know we're going a little over, and we will be saying Psalm shortly, God willing, but there's so many ways that we defeat our enemy. Everybody I see, everybody I know, I don't know one person who isn't, if I do, I don't know about it, who isn't fighting this battle on many levels. This war, which, please Hashem, is going to usher in the era of Mashiach Tzidkenu. I'll finish with that in a minute, but this war, people are battling their own yetzer. I know so many people who have committed to learning the Chafetz Chaim every day, okay, and committed to really working on this because it breeds unity, okay? It brings unity among the Jewish people. And it not speaking yetzer as a protection against powerful negative spiritual forces, okay? Not listening to it either, important. And then I know people who are taking on mitzvahs, okay? But I'm saying the same people. People are doing everything. They're committing to working on themselves. I mentioned Chafetz Chaim Lashon Hara, but they're doing other things as well. They're committed to taking on mitzvahs and growing in mitzvahs. They're davening. Everybody's praying and saying tons of Tehillim. People are doing what Ruti's doing, which is so important, which is going to as many classes. Whatever inspires you, grab a hold, keep going, push it in, take it in, because it's going to sink in. It's going to change you and help you face this with strength and happiness. And then, of course, people are they're volunteering to help Israel in so many ways, whether it's fundraising and so on. People I know in Israel are, I don't know if she's here right now, Benita, packing food for the soldiers and doing all kinds of things. Everybody I know, people here are doing things as well, physically. And then people are, of course, giving vast amounts of tzedakah. And so on every level, we can defeat our enemy. But David is reminding us in the penultimate verse of Psalm 36, we have to do it with humility. We must do it with humility, and then we win. Okay. All right. Are there any questions about this psalm, about what we discussed today? Comments? You can unmute yourselves. Your videos are off just because I turned them off. Oh, thank you, Esther Ella. Okay, Baruch Hashem. I'm glad that the class was good and you feel inspired. That's the main thing. Okay. No messages. I know questions. So what I'm going to do now is two things. I'm going to, okay, somebody has 100 questions. Okay, we'll get to them another time. What I'm going to do now, before we begin with our Psalms, is I want to remind people that I started a new series yesterday. It's not going to be very long, maybe 3 or 4 classes. I really want to encourage you to watch it and or share it with others. It's a series about Israel. It's on my YouTube channel. It's if I haven't posted it yet on the Breslov Woman website, I will. It's on social media. I'm trying to work up the courage to post it on Twitter, which I don't usually use, but I think that it will get out there more. And it is the story of our connection to Israel, starting with creation. We're literally starting at the beginning. And I know that there are people out there, we all have friends, family members who think that the Jews sort of showed up in Israel in 1948. And this class discusses the past few thousand years of our history, our spiritual history and religious history. It also discusses our history in terms of how the world around us interacted with us. And I would really like you to please share it with others, okay? Because I know that there are people right now who are very open to receiving new information, and we need every single Jew is part of us, and we need to pull them in. We need to embrace them. We need to give them love, and we need to know that they are so necessary. We don't want them to feel that they're outside us. We don't want them to become, God forbid, an Achitophel to work to undermine. We don't want that. We want them with us. So if you watch the video, you don't think it's for them, don't give it. But if you think it's for them, please share it. And please share this video too, because Psalms inspires us. It's King David talking directly to us. If you read this Psalm, I guarantee you're going to find your own meaning in it, your own connection with it. Right now, it seems like everybody has a smidge of Ruach HaKodesh, and everybody is experiencing new ways to relate to the words of our sages. And it seems right now, everybody is able to relate to Tehillim, the beautiful, beautiful Psalms of King David. Okay, I'm going to end the recording, and then we'll move on to, let me not end the class, that would be a mistake.